Right, welcome back to Key Points live here at TV3. We're streaming live on Facebook, also live on your DSTV channel 279. Let me just quickly recount our subjects for this morning. If you just tune in, this is Key Points. And so this week, two cabinet ministers have resigned from the Nanado cabinet to pursue their presidential ambitions. I'm sure you know already that Mr. Alan Kojo Chamanten is one of them, as well as former Agric Minister, Dr. Friakoto. Alan, later in the week, addressed the nation, and he talked about his great transformational plan. Also, scores of people have been angered about the decision to allow American rapper to shoot a music video at the presidency. Issues about protocol, issues about procedure have all been raised. We'll talk about that as well. And then President Nana Danko Akufo-Addo intervened in the dismissal of 8 students for insulting him. Some have described the punishment as retrogressive and unconstitutional. We know that the Ghana Education Service had earlier taken a decision to dismiss the students, and later we saw the president intervene. Did we have to get to this point? In the second part of the discussion, we are talking about the National Cathedral, the building of the National Cathedral, and issues arising out of that. We also know that there's been a lot of back and forth on Ghana's debt exchange program. A number of sprinter groups have been formed resisting the current domestic debt exchange program in its current shape and form. We know of former Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Edu Ananientri, who's leading one of the groups. Senyo Hoshi, former Chief Executive Officer of the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors, is also leading another group. Only yesterday, they presented a petition to Parliament. And so a lot of things are happening, a lot more to happen. We'll look at all these matters. Let me just quickly introduce my guest to you for the first part of our discussion. Alex Segbefia is a former health minister and also Deputy Chief of Staff. Mr. Segbefia, good morning. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Good morning to you. Good morning to your listeners and viewers and my co-panelists.
Great. Good to see you. Yao Boabina Samoa is a former communications director of the New Patriotic Party. Good morning to you, Mr. Boabina Samoa, and good to have you on the program.
Good morning, sir.
I must say, however, and if I can get the consent of my producers, we're expecting Professor Ransford Jampo. Is that right? Right, okay. So we are expecting Professor Ransford Jampo, who's a professor of political science at the University of Ghana. So I'm going to begin the discussion with my two panelists. Let's start off, first of all, with the resignation of... I think we'll start off with the talk, over Facebook, social media over the weekend about the music video that was shot at the Jubilee House. And I'll start off with Alex Segbefia. I'm sure that you saw a lot of the commentary and also the music video that was shot at the presidency. What do you make of it?
Well, I think that, once again, good morning to all. I think that it was another blunder by the government of the day as well as the security agencies of Flagstaff House. You have to recognize, and everybody does, that actually Flagstaff House is a security zone.
You mean the Jubilee House?
Apologies. I'm still trying to relive the good old days since we're in the bad new days. So,
did I hear you right? Did I hear you right? A building you didn't want.
I will rephrase.
Yeah, please do.
The Jubilee House. And some even call it what? They say it's a recording studio now. It's not the Jubilee House, AKA. So let's not go into names. Let's deal with the actual issue, which is, it is a security zone. And therefore, it behoves a government to behave in a certain manner for all. Now, it's not like we haven't had Christmas carol concerts at the Jubilee House in the past. We've had dignitaries who come and visit and etc., chiefs, civil society organizations, they take pictures with the president, and it's good for people to actually see the president. So for me, I do not have much of a problem with him going to see the president. I think if the president's policy of homecoming or return, year of return, etc., is being put forward, then it was a good thing for him to meet someone who is from the diaspora and encourage others to come back into Africa and home, and more importantly, to invest in our country. But shooting a music video is very different from a visit to a president. And that, for me, is totally wrong. It goes against the ethics. It goes against the security situation for Jubilee House. It should not have been allowed. The fact that apologies are being given at different levels demonstrates that that is actually the position. The Ghanaian people are unhappy about it, and not to drag it, it behoves on government, and I do not know whether government has actually come out with a situation where they've explained, or I haven't seen a statement yet. So it may be that government may have explained or said something different, or said something in regard to that matter. But for me, I'm clear in my mind. It shouldn't have happened. It was a complete mistake. And no matter how people try to explain it, it won't wash, because people are trying to say, what is the law that says you can't? It's not about law. And actually, if we go into the security apparatus, there may be issues there that will show that there were some breaches of certain issues. But that is dragging or trying to take a sledgehammer to crack a nut. The current economic situation gives this some, or has given this more prominence perhaps than it may have had, because people are just fed up with everything that is happening within government, which seems to be a situation of I don't care, and the use of state resources in any way. You would remember that whoever advised the president on this matter should have taken cognizance of the fact that the president not too long ago had been booed on stage at a concert involving celebrities as well. So you have to understand the nuance of what is happening in the country, notwithstanding the fact that you're trying to do marketing with regard to tourism. And we're all happy with that. But you cannot take it away from what is happening to the ordinary Ghanaian on the, on the ground. And so when you put all these things together, politically, it was also a bad decision. Politically, it was a bad decision. Ethically, it was a bad decision. Security-wise, it was a bad decision. Sum total, it was a bad decision. I'm done.
Right. I must also introduce our two new guests who just joined us. We have private legal practitioner, Martin Pebu. He has joined us in the studio. Mr. Pebu, good morning and welcome to Key Points.
Good morning, Mr. Ferry.
Good to have you. And also my former lecturer, maybe also still my lecturer. Once a lecturer, always a lecturer. Professor Jampo, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Right. So, Mr. Yabobi Asamoah, his former communications director of the New Patriotic Party, how do you justify what happened, what we saw on television?
Good morning to my co-panelists. This morning I can see several hard hitters. Prof. Jampu, Martin,
We're soft
to my
hitters.
left.
Now, Martin has promised he's going to be very calm, extremely calm.
He'll be calm, man.
We're very soft hitters, and so he decided to run us into the crater.
As for the NDC, we know where they sit, so we will not be bothered. But the Honorable Sebefia has said something extremely important, that we are in a situation where our society, there's a certain angst in the society, and therefore, in managing that angst, anything policy could set people off and set them off very badly. And I believe that in this case, this is exactly what happened. So there's a certain extra duty imposed on government at this time to engage even more closely. And where should you have been engaging on this video? The video is a micro part of the larger agenda of the government. So if the government is seeking to become the government of the African diaspora, then where would be their presidency? The Jubilee House. But did anybody think through that the best way of engaging would be a music video or visits to the president? And Honorable Sebefia has admitted and acknowledged that yes, people do visit the president. There's nothing wrong with it. And other activities have been filmed there. And clearly there's nothing wrong with that. But perhaps the way, I think the biggest
Other
problem...
activities like what?
Oh, people go to the banquet hall, the frontage. There have been Christmas carol events, visitor events, and all that. The frontage has seen photography of a public nature exposed. Even though the entire facility, portions of the facility, you can't just enter.
But I guess for many people, especially with the media, we are fascinated about the ease with which people are granted easy access to the presidency. I mean, people from abroad, outsiders. When you compare that to we the media, the kind of difficulties we go through. A case in point is that of City FM journalist Caleb Kuda, who had such a difficulty even visiting a national security facility and all that he went through. Are we just being discriminatory?
No, we are. I think policy is lagging slightly behind the speed of modern politics. We are in literally, I call it a micro digital politics, because individuals through their mobile phone can become political parties. One individual can set a negative or positive opinion and it goes viral and everybody else ahead follows. We are not necessarily stuck in groupings of identified loyalty, groupings of identified association in terms of ideology and all that. There's so much opportunity and space to be individualistic and to participate and to, you know, so the whole question of the systems we are carrying, what is a security zone, who is entitled to be exempted from certain situations, is the local media exempted? These are all issues of evolutionary dynamic policy that we must come to grips with. That's what I'm trying to say.
But why are we having such a difficulty with all this, Mr. Matipebo? Sorry, I've got to catch you, Mr. Matipebo. I have been to the United States of America and I have seen people demonstrate at the frontage of the White House. Why is such a difficulty here for people, ordinary citizens who want to demonstrate, to just walk through the Jubilee House?
A 200-year-old constitution. That is a 200-year-old constitution. And even that came under attack on 6th January, based on leadership tone. So even them, they are still evolving. You understand? We have a fourth republic coming out of military rule, a lot of chop and start. You know, we still don't even have strong institutions capable of establishing basic objective structures that political parties who are circulating in and out of power can depend on and rely on. So where we are formulating, we are building, we are dynamic. So we are not static, but I don't think we are moving fast enough. That's my point. We are not static, but we are not moving fast enough. So when you are caught flat-footed like this, then all the anger and coming out of the other situations pile up, And then everybody dives in and bites government very hard. And of course, because the policies are not clear yet, you don't find an immediate and swift response from government. It takes maybe 48 hours, 78 hours for government to gather itself and then begin to put out rebuttals or a way forward or direction. It's all part of the institutional malaise that we find ourselves in. So we are an evolutionary society. We should be a bit kinder.
And to think that all this
ourselves.
was masterminded by the daughter of the president, because indeed we saw footages of the president's daughter and Meek when he visited the president. Also, the president talked about the fact that it was his daughter who insisted that he came to see the president. Does that also add to the anger in the system? That, listen, this is just one more instance of family and friends, who are just taking over the whole administration of government without proper procedure.
Family and friends is not the driving force behind the tourism drive. You are talking about, look at what happened over Christmas. $1 billion process that managed to calm the runaway city. In the Christmas period, the diasporans came in, melted their dollars, and we saw how it stabilized, helped the city to find its feet. So this is a larger.
That's just a conjecture.
What is the end game? Oh no, the statistics will come into play. I'm not conjecturing. The statistics will come into play, and that's another area where we are still lagging behind. I know there was some support.
Well, it's one of many. It's one of many factors. Of course, we know that the agreement with the International Monetary Fund, the first phase of this had been agreed, and so that and many other issues probably.
Exactly. But let me go back to my original postulate that we have decided consciously that diasporan tourism is going to be part of our resurgence as a nation. It didn't start for Kufado. Rollins and Pana first, and the Achia brothers. What were their names? One still lives in Boche. And it has grown and grown and grown. Kufuor pushed it forward. Now we are at a stage where Ghana has achieved the distinction internationally of being a place to be at Christmas. And you have international stars programming themselves to come and sing at concerts in Ghana, attracting other people who want to see them. And they come here, they spend money, and they expand our service facilities, and people earn incomes. And when people earn incomes, of course, they will consume. They will also spend the money on other services. They will pay taxes, and government will make money out of that. So we have consciously decided to do that. The question is rolling it out. What are the parameters? What is the extent of it? And we have a situation where famous international personality, a music personality, and music draws people. Music is holidaying. Music is people at Christmas. So part of the group's many musicians who came, very famous musicians who came here, he has gone to the Jubilee House. He happened to have gone there of the daughter of the president. It's not the president's daughter who is driving policy in Ghana. But then this has happened. So having happened, does that undermine our entire tourism process? Should that be the signal to say that the Jubilee House is dead and that everybody can go in there and do what they like? It's lost its status as a security installation, if indeed it is one or it's not one. I hear that debate also going on. As I sit here and I'm not even competent to determine whether it's a security zone or not. But the debates, I'm saying, are seated in the angst of the present moment. We must acknowledge that.
I hear you.
Yes.
I hear you.
It's like the cathedral. When everything was going well and we all went there, we carried bags of cement to go and support. Now it has become anathema because we feel we're hungry. It's something like that. That angst.
Mr. Prebu,
how do we do it and keep it going is what we must look at.
Right.